how fast things can turn.
The waves were 6 feet high and they were tossing our 45-foot Catalina sailboat around like it was a toy.
We had to help them into the lifeboat in some pretty choppy conditions.
Unfortunately, some of the waves got too big for what we could handle.
And just seeing one of the women's eyes looking up through the seawater at us.
Mayday relay, Mayday relay, Mayday relay. This is Victoria Coast Guard Radio, Victoria Coast Guard Radio, Victoria Coast Guard Radio. A report has been received of an overturned canoe with several people in the water in the area of First Narrows, English Bay. Any vessels able to respond, please advise channel 16.
So the call initially came into us over the channel 16 VHF from an outbound deep sea, reporting multiple people in the water and an overturned outrigger canoe.
So Courtenay and I had just started shifting around 1300 or 1 p.m. when we got a call over the VHF of a capsized canoe with approximately 6 people in the water somewhere here around the Lions Gate Bridge.
And I was at the helm of the lifeboat in North Vancouver the day we got the call of kids in the water off of Lions Gate, Ambleside area.
We were a group of 6 dragon boat paddlers from the same team. We were just practicing on an outrigger canoe that summer. And between the 6 of us, we probably have around 25 years of paddling experience. So we were not new to the water and to the waves, and we generally thought we knew what we were doing. But unfortunately, even that wasn't good enough that day. So unfortunately, our boat was turned over by some of the large waves in the area. And what happened was that we weren't able to flip our boat back over like we were trained to do, and like we've done many times in the past. It's usually not a big deal, but that time it was a lot for us, and our boat took some damage too, so it was not possible to recover from that.
Yeah. I was at the helm at the time, and it was incredibly rough weather. I actually wrote in my diary that the waves were 6 feet high and they were tossing our 45-foot Catalina sailboat around like it was a toy. And we were mostly intent on just getting home.
And I said to Gord, I think there's some kayakers, they might be in distress. So he turned the boat around. I think it was pretty hard.
So we motored over there, and the big concern I had was we couldn't get too close because I couldn't control the boat, and I didn't want to go over anybody and crush them or cut them a propeller. So we just kept circling the people.
And eventually we did get the second girl in, and she was, I mean, I'm pretty sure they were near the end of their tether. And at that point, I think the Coast Guard showed up,
A whole bunch of boats turned up all of a sudden, The Coast Guard was the main one, and I was so relieved.
When we got there, the people in the water looked like they were clinging on to some pool inflatables, and they were weak. We had to help them into the lifeboat in some pretty choppy conditions.
So we searched the area here. We were assisted with the Canadian Coast Guard crew from Kitsilano. The Vancouver Harbour Patrol was out, and also an RCM STAR crew. We searched the area here and we couldn't find a thing. We then got a update from an outbound deep sea that had spotted the overturned craft about 1.5 miles west of this location. And I remember looking down and seeing the waves breaking over top of their heads, even in PFDs, and just seeing one of the women's eyes looking up through the seawater at us, looking at us, waiting for us to grab her to pull her in.
So then out of the corner of my eye, I see one of the guys swimming towards that sailboat who helped rescue him. And Jamie was able to get our boat close enough. I opened up the dive door on the Larry Young, and one of the girls was able to come close enough, and I dragged her in rather roughly into the boat. But you know, as she could barely, she had no energy whatsoever. She saw, she knew she was ready to be saved, and just a huge adrenaline dump, I think, on her behalf. So pulled her in.
People on watercraft or paddle boards or outrigger canoes should always be wearing appropriate personal flotation device, and also a way to contact people for help if necessary. Cell phones don't make it in the water very long, if at all.
And I think when you look at safety at the seas, you just have to make sure that you have the right equipment and a skill set. So this is my note for myself, is that I need to practice, or I have been practicing throwing the life ring so that I can throw it better and further, because you never know when that's going to come into handy. Also make sure that you have your life vests with you, and make sure that you have all the equipment that you need to have working.
I think there are three key things that helped us survive. One was staying together and staying together as a team, because I think that if we separated or we tried to send someone off to find help, it probably wouldn't have ended as successfully as it did. Another key thing that kept us alive to this point is the use of PFDs. So we were all wearing PFDs, and not only did it help us stay afloat with the boat, but it also acted as like an insulator, so we were also able to stay warm, because even though it was at the middle of July, you'd expect it to be warm, but when you're in that water for so long, it gets very cold, and we were in there for at least 40 minutes, I believe. Lastly, I think that having a communication device was also very helpful. We were fortunate that the yacht saw us, but having that phone to get the insurance to put us out on the radar so that people would look for us was a key part to our survival. Big thank you to the kind people of the yacht that found and saved us, as well as the people at the Coast Guard and the folks at the Vancouver Police Department. We are very thankful from the bottom of our hearts.
The most important lesson learned from this incident is how fast things can turn. Always be prepared for the worst possible situation and stay safe out there.
The reason that we were successful in this rescue was that everybody was wearing a proper PFD that fit.